Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. So, for new watchers, we should probably just introduce ourselves.
Sure.
So, would you start?
All right. I'm Kara. I am a teacher. I am a teacher educator. I'm an author. My expertise is in autism. My brother has autism. I'm going through the diagnostic process now myself. And yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm all around nerd.
Yay!
Yeah.
We love nerds.
Mhm.
Um, I am a nerd as well, very much. Possibly in different ways, I guess. Um, so, my name is Maya Todale. I am an autistic psychologist, speaker, and author, and self advocate, I guess, from Denmark.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I think that's the run through of my titles. I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at the age of 16, which is too long ago now. We'll not talk about that.
no.
I also have an ADD diagnosis and went through most of my life not being medicated for that. So I kind of have both sides of that as well. Yeah, yeah,
I should have said I'm from Canada.
yeah, yeah. We're sitting here with a time difference of, is it 7 hours, 7 or 8 hours?
Let's say that. Yes. All I know is it's early in the morning for me and
Yeah,
it's
and
late afternoon for you.
well, it's not late. It's almost 3 p.m. here.
Okay.
Yeah,
About
so
6 hours then. Yeah.
yeah, 6 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I really enjoy talking to you, and
Likewise.
we seem to come up with a whole bunch of topics.
Hmm.
And so we've just quickly talked about possibilities for what we wanted to talk about today. And the first thing was alexithymia.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's something I'm really fascinated about. I've read a little bit about it. I think that I have traits of alexithymia,
mhm,
uh, in that I can recognize sort of the easy emotions fairly quickly if I'm happy, if I'm excited about something.
yeah,
If it's something more complex, I can think of multiple examples throughout my life where someone has said, "What are you thinking about?" or "How are you feeling?" And I don't know. I don't know. Or I
yeah,
have to sort of fake the answer and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm feeling pretty satisfied." What I think about what the context is and what I should be feeling, and I say that.
mhm,
And much of the time, it takes noticing something is off with me. Like, so my heart is racing really fast, or I'm
yeah.
snapping at my boyfriend, or uh,
Like
I start to go,
behavioral
oh,
changes
yeah,
or like
yeah,
somatic complaints.
exactly. Yeah,
Like,
this isn't how I normally am, um, and then I have to work backwards, and I have to go, okay, what is this? Okay, the heart is racing. I haven't drunk too much coffee today, so maybe I'm stressed out. Let's look at that hypothesis, right? And
maybe I have caffeine withdrawal right
yeah,
now.
I do have to rule that out because I have drunk a lot of coffee before in my life and had the heart palpitations. So, but if I can rule that out, then I have to go through and go, okay, am I stressed about the email I got earlier? Am I stressed about this? Until I pinpoint what it is or what combination of things it is.
Yeah.
But it's not intuitive, and usually I don't realize until I'm like not in meltdown or shutdown, but close. Like
Yeah.
my emotional state is
Yeah,
I could have
like
regulated better earlier.
yeah. Yeah, so it's almost that sort of um like if you picture a thermometer of like a range of emotions. So 0 is neutral and 10 is the highest like level that an emotion can be at.
Yeah.
Um we do see fairly often, and I guess this is very much what you describe, is that if you're at 0, 1, 2, 3, that's fine. We can recognize that. it's easy to figure out. This is what I'm feeling. I'm somewhat neutral. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm whatever. And then it's almost like there's a gap from around 4 to
Yes.
7
Yes.
where it's just blank.
Yeah.
Like it's not that it isn't happening, it's just that we're not necessarily registering that it's going on. And then suddenly we recognize when we are at 8, 9, 10,
Yes.
or if we have been at a consistently high level for a number
A
of
while.
hours or days, then it's like, oh,
That's
I'm
what that is.
sad,
Yeah.
or I'm angry, or whatever it is.
And what's fascinating to me, and I was really glad that I saw someone post about this on Twitter. I wouldn't have necessarily recognized that about myself so much, because I am also hyper empathetic. So
Yeah.
it seems so strange. How can I have this very empathetic response to other people when I'm watching TV? Even if it's a commercial I'm making fun of, I might cry because they get me in the feelers. Like I like other people's feelings, I can sense very, very deeply and feel very, very deeply. Even pain, like if I see someone get hurt, I physically feel that somewhere in my body. Like,
Right.
so it's just the internal recognition of my own feelings that is harder for me.
Yeah, and I guess that can be related to interoception. So for you, it doesn't seem to be, because like if you can feel the heart palpitations and you can feel like, oh, I've got sweaty hands and la la la, and then it's like, oh, hours later, oh, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Then there isn't an interoception issue, but there is kind
a recognition issue.
Yeah, kind of. It's like putting the pieces together and being like, oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
I did see at some point someone posting that they didn't want to use the word alexithymia anymore, or that alexithymia is like somehow well, I don't know, ableist or something like that. I don't know. I didn't fully understand that way of viewing things, and maybe one of our viewers can expand on that.
Yes.
But for me, when this is just to bring in that perspective, and to just say that for people like us who are professionals, as well as being well, I am autistic, and you're very probably autistic. For people like us who are both on the inside and on the professional side of autism, we're so used to words like this being used to describe something that is difficult for someone.
Yes.
And not be necessarily a judgment on them, or be being judgmental. It's just we're attempting to describe what is it that's
state
difficult.
of being. Like,
What is it that is the challenge here, or what is it that is difficult for this person?
And I mean, I certainly feel better having a word for it, but that's a personal position. Certainly when I think through a framework, when I think about my whole life through the framework of autism and some of these comorbidities, things make sense, right? I can forgive myself for things that I thought why was I so stupid? Or why didn't I do that differently? Or why was I a doormat? Why could I not find any words at that time? So all of those things that until I thought about myself this way were kind of shameful and compartmentalized away. Now it's like, there's a great reason. For those things.
And it is that sort of recognition that once you have a word for something, that it's a descriptor. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's just describing, the color black. That we call this black. That doesn't mean that black is bad or good. It's just a descriptor of how we perceive it.
Unfortunately, the way language works, though, is the meaning does change with usage, and then
And it
things can
does.
become ableist and or euphemistic, or
Yeah.
and
And
so we do
I
have to
think,
keep up. Yeah.
yeah, we do. We do definitely. And it can also happen culturally in one place
That's a
and
good
not
point.
necessarily be that same sort of way
Somewhere
in
else.
other parts of the world. So I feel like sometimes because I try not to be too much on autistic Twitter anymore because I feel like there's so much anger. I sometimes will actually be in a bad mood if I've been scrolling
Too
for half
much.
an hour.
Agreed.
Like I have to really
Yeah.
not do it too much. But the more I read, autistic Twitter or blogs from autistic people, so many of them are from America.
Mm.
And I sometimes feel like the online community, first off, is its own culture and moves at its own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And then the American culture, there's so much um, there's so much history and so many connotations that come along with
Yeah.
everything that is said within that context
Mm.
that doesn't necessarily apply
Mm-hmm.
to my culture in Denmark. We have our own
Yeah.
things,
Well, of
like,
course, every culture does.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like sometimes I feel like
Well,
I don't know how much I should listen
yeah.
sometimes to certain developments.
I
Like,
think knowing the central tenets of how people feel in different places is good. It's understanding. Certainly in Canada, ABA is huge here, even though,
yeah,
and
it
I believe probably in the States as well.
it
In
is here too.
our education policies, we have to be implementing ABA in the classrooms to various degrees.
Yeah.
So there are probably a lot more advocates here because of things like that. I don't know what it's like in Denmark, how ABA is.
We are a society that values evidence-based interventions.
Enough said.
So
Yeah.
that will tell you pretty much everything. But I will say that it has been for a very long time that in Denmark, the punishment aspect of the behavioristic approach
Hmm.
has been cut out for a very long time. I believe even since the beginning of the 90s, because spanking your children is illegal
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and has been for a long time.
Yeah.
And so spanking other people's children
Is a
or
definite no-no.
like
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
punishment, especially corporeal punishment. Corporal punishment?
Corporal punishment. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
Is just not a thing here.
Mhm.
Of course, that then leads me to consider that sometimes not getting your reward
Mhm.
can be
No,
a
that becomes the
punishment.
punishment, right? And I've been reading Elfie Kahn's Punished by Rewards, and it's such a paradigm shift
Oh
in
my gosh.
education to think about things that way and how damage, like it's still manipulation,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Um,
It
and
is.
and it's not, I think in autism, certainly it gets drilled into you when you work in the
Yeah.
field, like reward charts for progress, and you're recognizing their effort and things like that. But
Yeah.
it can still be very damaging. And
Yeah.
I've actually, I've been having this shift in how I think about things.
Mhm.
And what I want to do going forward is more, wow, you've put in all of this effort. What are you going to do to take care of yourself? And frame it as
Yes.
self-care and a choice.
Yeah.
Take a break. What do you want
Yeah.
to do? You like, because I think that's what we need to nurture. We like, as autistic and probably autistic adults,
Mhm.
self-care is something that we very much still struggle with, right? Finding a balance in life and not overexerting ourselves and taking on too much,
Yeah.
which I chronically do. So
Yeah.
if I can teach my students, okay, like breaks are good. They're allowed. You need to take care of yourself. You need to counterbalance all of these things. What do you want to do for yourself? I think that's the direction I'm going to be going in.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Especially, and I think I mentioned this last time. I at least think that I have mentioned this in one of our chats. That I've heard from an autistic person on Twitter again, that as an adult, even though she was only exposed to a positive reward-based ABA style, that as an adult, she has such a hard time allowing herself to reward herself if she hasn't earned it beforehand. So like,
yes.
even just grabbing a piece of food that you really like becomes something that you have to earn rather than something you can do because you're an adult and do whatever you want.
Or intrinsically just enjoy, right?
Yeah. Or just, you know, it's a part of life that sometimes you eat things you like or you do things you like.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I do think that that's a really interesting thing that we have to recognize more, both as autistic people and as professionals, because it is shocking, I think, sometimes how capable we are of ignoring blatant truths like that.
Oh, for sure. I have to say, I got through my entire PhD process by rewarding myself. Like I would have to, you know, negotiate with myself. Okay, write this paragraph and then you can watch a show on Netflix or whatever it was. Like my whole thing was like, you just got to do a bit more. But then you never do enjoy the thing that you have set for as that kind of reward, because you're thinking like, I still have more to do. And that's how my brain works. I hate not finishing things. So until the end was really in sight, it wasn't as pleasant as maybe it could have been.
You know, I did the same thing throughout my thesis. It was very much, I think it was also because I had been chronically stressed at that point for at least 5 years. Like you get to a point where you have nothing left. So you have to somehow get through the day. But I would do like little charts and be like, okay, just write 250 characters per hour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And it's like 250 characters is a couple of sentences. It's nothing. But I would have to set these like tiny little goals to really feel like this is easy. I can do this, no problem. And then by having that sort of really no problem, easy goal, I could still check that box and get that. This is a very, very neuropsychologist thing to say, but like get my little dose of dopamine from checking the box. It just became this like, just get through the day, just get through the next hour. You can do this. You can do this.
No, mini goals were super important, because if you think about the whole, it's so overwhelming. So breaking things down to, I'm just going to read that paragraph and edit that one paragraph or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to
chocolate
think about it. Oh, chocolate, of course. Although really, I love all food pretty much equally. It's a little bit of a problem, but
okay. Yeah, I'm very much a chocolate person.
Yeah.
I could eat a lot of chocolate.
Dark chocolate, milk chocolate, all chocolate.
I think my milk chocolate is great. Dark chocolate, maximum around 80%.
Okay.
That's my limit. And then it has to have like peppermint or sea salt or orange or something.
Oh, I love dark chocolate orange.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. But white chocolate, I can't.
Oh, it's too sweet. It's like sickly.
It's not chocolate. It's not. I've also tasted the new ruby chocolate, which is also not chocolate. It's like white chocolate. It's not good. It's not.
Okay.
It's
then
not
I don't
right.
like it.
No.
Yeah.
It's just not right. No, but we have a problem here because we live around 10 minutes drive from a chocolate factory.
Oh no.
And it's like high end
Oh,
quality.
that's
And
dangerous.
yeah, and they have a store on site, and it's like a really quaint,
Mhm.
beautiful drive with it's an old country
Yeah.
um country place thing. So you
Yes.
have this the drive-in is like lined by oak trees, and it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
It's an awesome place to go.
Oh,
Yeah, and then they've started in the summer. Every Wednesday, they have soft ice for 10 kroner, which is less than $2.
oh wow.
Yeah. It's not a big ice cream, but like you're just going up there to get an ice cream.
Yes. On
But
this
then
beautiful property, and then there's a chocolate outlet shop. Like,
yeah, it's like you're already there.
might as well.
You
Yeah.
you might as well get some more ice cream or
My
some
gosh.
chocolate. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, it's daily temptation.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. No, but chocolate is definitely a way to pull yourself through a
Mhm.
semester or
Yes.
a big assignment. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Another thing that you had written something to me about being in the process of diagnosis, and um, I can't remember if you said like, what if I don't get the diagnosis or something like that. Um,
Yeah. Before I put my chart together, before I put my 21 page, almost 7,000 word document
uh-huh,
of my traits over time in different categories,
yeah,
it was a concern because, certainly there are many people in my life who would be very surprised.
yeah,
Um, and then there are people who know me very, very well who would not be surprised at all. I
yeah.
did mention it to my brother. I haven't told anyone else in my family, but my brother was like, okay, I'm not surprised." Okay. Um,
Duh.
but like, if you look at my life, I have a great job. I'm successful at. I'm very good at.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I take on a leadership role on the team that I'm part of.
Mm-hmm.
I now, as an adult in my 30s, I have some very, like, a close knit group of friends, small group of friends. I'm in a long-term relationship. Like, I have a PhD, so I wrote a book. So on paper, I look very, very successful, right?
Yeah.
But it's the things. It's like getting home at 3:30 or 4 after work and being non-functional, unable to do anything else because I'm so burnt
Mm-hmm.
out. It's the private things. I'm able to mask very well, so people
Yeah.
don't see what is hard, or the shutdowns that I experience at
Yeah.
times, and yeah, so until I actually did the charts and went, whoa, there's a huge, like, there's all of these patterns I haven't thought about because I've tried to put them away in a little basket somewhere,
Yeah.
I was worried, but I did find a neurodivergent practitioner who
Mm-hmm.
diagnoses. So that made me feel a lot better, because I said to them, I can't do Likert scales. If you're asking me questions like, are you uncomfortable in social situations? And it's, always, sometimes, rarely, never. I can't in good conscience say always, because I have friends that I'm comfortable around. But
Yeah.
can I think of many other situations where, yes, I'm uncomfortable, or I'm the first one to leave the party, or I have to bribe myself to go to the party?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I can't do the Likert scale because I want to answer it perfectly. I want to answer it with complete accuracy. And that is hard to do. And I've always struggled with that. Like, multiple choice tests in high school, I would write the answer. I would circle and say, I chose C because of this, like, I don't like ambiguity.
No. Oh, you're definitely not autistic at all.
I know, right? I've got none of those traits. But I think, oh yeah, where I was going with this, with my tangential thinking, as an adult, I have been very fortunate to control the variables in my life. So this past year with the coronavirus situation, I had way more shutdowns / meltdowns than I've had in a long time. And then I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is like, at this stage in my life, I did this. Like I could look back and see, oh, I've had these terrible coping episodes throughout my life, but it's been a lot less in adulthood because I control things. I don't put myself in situations normally that are chaotic or uncomfortable for me.
No,
I found my niche.
You choose.
But this year upended everything, right? So
it really did. It really did. I think I was lucky that I was still in the last year of my university, because that meant that, yes, my internship did get messed up, but my thesis writing almost didn't get affected at all. So in that sense, I've been really lucky, but gosh, I've seen how much it's just been huge for people's lives. So yes, of course, your life being changed in that way would have contributed so much to additional meltdowns and shutdowns. And that is sort of like, even if you were just slightly considering that maybe you were autistic before, an experience like that is something that's going to put in the forefront of your mind. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Well, and like, let's face it, I've been doing quizzes online for years and it's always coming up positive. Like, not that I set much store by quizzes, but I also remember as a teenager, my mom had, it might have been a Tony Attwood book, and she had highlighted siblings can have traits or something like that. And I was like, well, it's not talking about my older siblings because they're as neurotypical as it gets. Like,
oh my gosh. It's me. They're talking about me. Yeah. I think that there's several aspects of this that I think are really interesting to talk about. One part is someone like you having worries that, what if I don't qualify for the diagnosis? That to me just brought up very much that sort of phenotypical part of the spectrum, which is like, there's a really wide gap between not being autistic at all, being allistic over here, and then qualifying for an autism diagnosis over here. This part in between of those, that is where you're not allistic. You are some degree of autistic, but you just don't qualify for the diagnosis. And a part of that is that the diagnostic criteria are so still built on the early observations and the early definitions of what autism is supposed to be. Plus the fact that diagnostic criteria are built on what can be observed. Like, when you go for a diagnosis for autism, there is now a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists around the world who recognize that, the social difficulties that come with autism, that there are people who mask them, and that you don't see the social difficulties to the extent that you would expect with an autistic person.
Yeah.
But in effect, the diagnostic criteria are very much built around, do you fail socially?
Yes.
And that, to me, that is the problem.
Yeah.
with,
Well, and all of it is like that. Like
yeah,
we don't diagnose people until they're in crisis, until, you know, and that doesn't leave a lot of room for role models who are managing and living their best life.
oh,
And how sad that is, how sad that is for children being diagnosed now, if you know, because I think
yeah,
knowing you're part of community is helpful, right?
it is.
And you're not alone, and your brain works like many other people's. You just haven't met them all yet.
Yeah, and as a child and a teenager, having role models that you can relate to, that is so important. And I have several clients who are in their teens and who don't want to talk about autism at all, regardless of whether or not they've been diagnosed officially.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to hear the word because
Mm-hmm.
to them, autism is handicapped
Yes.
and socially inept and, you know, awkward and embarrassing,
Mm.
or they associate it with low intelligence.
Yes.
They associate it with all these things because there's such a tiny, tiny number
Mm.
of people who are openly autistic,
Mm.
who are what we used to call high functioning,
Yes.
or what I now would call well masked
Well masked. I like
individuals.
that. I like that a
like
lot.
they pass
Mm-hmm.
for holistic.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, they don't pass to other autistic people, because as an autistic person, when I look at Greta Thunberg,
Yes.
when I look at Elon Musk
Oh yeah, you knew.
and
I knew.
Zuckerberg
Yeah.
and Gates and all them peeps,
Yeah.
I don't doubt for a
For a
second.
second.
I think the only person that I've been surprised by is Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
He's the only one that I've been surprised by, but
Yeah.
like, he's an actor.
He's an actor, exactly. Oh, and he's delightful.
and he's a marvelous actor.
Mm.
But like, if I had known maybe more about his personal life, I
Mm.
would have probably been less surprised.
Yes, I found a clip of
But
him talking about childhood,
yeah.
and I went, oh wow, there you
Oh,
go.
okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, the role models that we have available to us are, I'm sorry, Silicon Valley billionaires,
Yes.
who, that's just, first of all, unrealistic for
For most of
all of
us.
us. All of us don't have
Yeah.
those interests
Yeah.
at all,
Mhm.
or feel like it's realistic that we achieve any real level of wealth.
Mm.
And so to have that as a role model is just weird. It's
Yes.
weird. And then there's, some activists
Mhm.
and some actors. And
Mhm.
those are the people that I can think of right now. And
Off the
then the
top of your
rest,
head. Yeah.
yeah, off the top of my head, who are famous in the mainstream, because
Mhm.
obviously in the autistic community, we do have plenty
Yes.
of people who
Yeah.
are,
Well known to
autistic.
us. Yeah. Well known to
Yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah. They're famous for us. They're not
Yeah.
famous for other people. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the one thing, is like, the whole thing with like, who can we even relate to, and that phenotype
Mhm.
area of the spectrum. And they kind of tie together, because when you're diagnosed autistic, the expectations that you have for life for someone who is autistic is exactly the opposite of what you're describing, and what is also true for me in many ways,
Mhm.
is, having some friends, not necessarily many, but
Mhm.
being being socially successful at a level that you feel comfortable with.
Yes. Yes.
At least most of the time. I mean, I can still have moments where I'm like, I don't have any real friends. Nobody loves me.
Yeah.
But I think that's a part of like being an anxious type of person.
Yes.
But you know, having some social success, having a romantic partner, being able to go through an education and have a job
Mm-hmm.
is, we don't associate that with autism, and that ties exactly back to the diagnostic criteria
Mm-hmm.
and what they've been applied to, because it
Yes.
is very much that we think of in the psychological and psychiatric
Mm-hmm.
community, we think of autism still, unfortunately, as something that is very
It's a deficit.
it's a deficit, it's very, it's a handicap.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is going to be detrimental to your life and the expectations for your development.
And that's certainly not to downplay challenges, and that there are areas, like I talk with my
No,
students all the
no.
time about internalized ableism, and there are things
Mm,
that you can't do or that are significantly harder for you. And it
yeah,
is okay to ask for help. It is okay to ask to
yeah,
do things in a way that benefits you more. Um, don't hold yourself, like, don't expect that you have to do everything the same way as everyone else.
mm-mm.
But also, no, nothing is automatically off the table either in your life, you
No,
know?
and it's also to recognize that autism is a great number of different things, and
Mm-hmm.
even I think just in the last few years, um, it, you know, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, when I was starting to work more with autism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been sort of working with it for about 15 years, but it started out very much as just, you know, telling my own personal story. But
Mm-hmm.
then 10 to 7 years ago, when I started really working more with it and finding out even what the spectrum is in non-speaking
Yes.
autistic individuals, is like we associate non-speaking people with low IQ,
And that's not the
dumb,
case. Yeah.
uh, low functioning
Mm-hmm.
automatically, and it's not. You know, there's a, first of all, there's a number of reasons why someone could be non-speaking,
Mm-hmm.
but on top of that, not speaking doesn't say anything about what goes on inside your
Internally. Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
And that, I, even just that, I feel like there's such a long way to go
Yeah.
still.
Well, even the notion that if someone is non-speaking and also has an intellectual disability, then it's okay to talk down to them. It's okay to talk to them like a child, talk about
Oh
them to
my
someone else.
gosh.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love I love the presumed competence, as
Yeah.
a maxim, you know, an adage. And that's, like, I have never understood how people talk down to anyone, whether they're, you know,
No.
and I've heard terrible stories from people like in wheelchairs, and people talk to their
Oh my
aide,
gosh.
or, you know, like,
Yes.
uh don't make
Yeah. And
assumptions about people's
no,
ability to communicate or understand.
no,
No.
or to
And you have
fight
value
back.
no matter, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. It doesn't make
No,
any
but
sense to me.
no, and I do feel like there is this idea that if you don't contribute monetarily to society, that you're not worth it.
Mhm.
And maybe this is a very socialist thing of me to say, but I disagree.
I disagree too.
I feel like all human beings have inherent value, and that it is up to us to help them to see their value if they can't see it,
Mhm.
and to help others see it.
Mhm.
You know, it's a common, it's a communal issue
Mhm.
to do that.
Agreed.
Yay.
Yay. Well, we should probably wrap it up because I do have to
Yes.
get on to
Yes.
an appointment. But I can't wait to chat with
Right.
you again.
Soon, I hope.
I hope so too.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully soon.